Mr. Lemire, now Mr. Masse.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the witnesses for being here. To be fair, this committee has had to pass but actually pushed hard to get some witnesses to come, so I'm glad you've come on your own volition. However, I do want to make sure, though, here that I understand what is being proposed. Did I hear correctly in terms of the separation of the lines to make sure that 911 would work is around $250 million. So is that specifically what is required to ensure that 911 does not fail again? That's one of the largest problems in all of this. I mean, there's one thing of inconveniences, but second to that, 911 is critical. So is that correct? Is it's a $250 million is the fix for the 911?
If I could clarify, as part of the investments and the fixes we're putting in place, first and foremost, emergency 911 and essential services is core to what we're doing, and as part of the memorandum of understanding that we will deliver together with our industry in the next 60 days, we have been working on and will deliver a robust solution for 911 so it works. What we saw in the outage was that our planned solution as an industry failed. Many calls.
So it's not a. Sorry, go ahead.
Many calls did go through, but many did not. And even one is too many. And so as part of the fixes, we will have the redundancy that I spoke about. But in addition to that, we will have failover measures so that in the event that there is an outage and it doesn't fall over to our alternate network, it will fall over to one of our competitors' network within seconds. And we're working with
sorry, I just want to I just make sure that I get this correct. So it's not a technical problem in terms of providing 911 guarantee service. It's more of was a business decision that led to the lack of capacity or redundancy in the system.
The failure of 911 calls was a technical problem. It had nothing to do with lack of resources. We clearly prioritize emergency calls. The specific technical problem, and I'll ask my colleague to provide a fuller explanation, but what happens is when there's an outage, certain phones would continue to try to connect to our network even though the network was down. And that's the frustration that we incurred.
Yeah, and I don't need a technical answer for that. I appreciate it, but that's what I'm looking for. It was a business decision at the end of the day, and it's a business decision to fix this. I mean, that's the critical. Would you know, Mr. Erskine-Smith mentioned about essential services. Would you categorize that any provider in our system providing 911 is essential?
There's nothing more important than the completion of 911 calls, and the inability for calls on 911 to complete on July 8th was a technical issue. It was not for a lack of resources. There was no business decision other than the one to confirm that 911 calls are important and we need to ensure that they be able to be made.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, it's a business decision because there wasn't the provision of cash. It's either one of two things. It's either a technical problem that we have to discuss as a committee if we're actually letting our carriers do that, or we're letting them make decisions that don't prioritize it enough to actually have the redundancy. And that's the follow-up that I think that is necessary to find out to make sure. You had this problem before, and there was promises to fix it. What happened between that time back in 2021 and into today? That's where I think that their consumer confidence has to be reasserted for the business application aspect. I think we might have to separate the 911 for this committee myself. But what happened between then and now? What's different? And why didn't that fix from 2021 get done for this situation?
I'll commence. The outage that occurred last April on our wireless services was due to a specific technical issue that was different than the one we encountered on July 8th. Following the April outage, changes were made to our network, to our processes, to prevent that type of outage and other outages. But we just could not foresee the type of outage that we experienced on July 8th.
Yeah. And maybe just to add, the instances are very different. The instance on July 8th was essentially the core of the network, the brain of the network that supports all wireless, wireline, internal communications, and connectivity. It was a complete loss of connection. So the technical issue on the 911, as much as our fellow operators all offer to help, there is no technical way with loss of connectivity. And we wish we could have helped because we wish we could have transferred.
Thank you. I'm going to have one quick question left, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but it is important when I wanted to get in, is that part of the problem we have right now is that we're still, whether it's the minister, nobody in your organization thought to call the minister, even with 911 down. Now you're just kind of making up stuff like in terms of what to do next for consumers and things like that. It's not a negative comment. Same with the minister. He's making up some new things in terms of regulatory and processes. Would Rogers support a universal, I guess, process that's transparent for consumers, businesses, and the public for all carriers, so that there would be like a bill of rights for consumers and carriers all alike? It doesn't matter whether you're sitting in the seat or somebody else in the future. Is that something Rogers would support?
We are very much focused on what we need to do to ensure the resiliency and redundancy of our networks so we can earn back in this competitive environment the confidence and trust of our customers and of Canadians. We will make the investments needed to make this right.
Thank you. That's all the time we have, Mr. Masse, but we'll get back to you.
Thank you.
And now we'll move